Hello friends, welcome to a new video in interview series. So in this video, let's talk about some interesting Python coding interview questions which would be helpful for both developers and automation testers who works in Selenium Python. So let's start with the first question. So the first question is print the expected results for the below string. So we have given a string is equal to India. Then we are trying to print out the value of str of -1. Okay. And in the next line we are trying to print out str of :-1 and then str of :-1. So what will be the results for each of this print statement? That is the question. So let's try out in one of the code editor. So I have opened a Python online editor and I'm just declaring the value of the string. String is equal to India. And let's try to print the first one, str of -1. So what will give as str of -1? So str of -1 will give the last character in that particular string, right? Because if you provide str of positive value, then it will traverse from the left hand side to right hand side. Since it is a negative str of -1, so it should traverse from the right hand side to left hand side. So it will give us the last character of that string, right? Now in the next line we can write print of str of :-1. So here we are using slicing operator, right? Colon. So you can have a look at the slicing operator feature in Python. So what it will do? It will omit the last character of the string and then it will print the remaining characters, right? Then coming to the next one, which is print of str of :-1. So here we have used slicing operator twice, right? And what would be the result? It will print the reverse of the string, right? So you can read about Python slice operator in detail. So if you say str of 1:2:3, that means 1 is the start index, 2 is the end index, but we do not include 2. We will navigate up to 2 - 1, and then 3 is the steps it should take. And if 3 is positive, that means if third value is positive, if it is +3, we will traverse from left hand side to right hand side of the string. If it is a negative value, then we should take in the reverse order. And here are a few examples you can just go through. The next question is take the below two lists as input and then print the expected output. So we have provided two lists, list 1, which list 1 contains two elements which are my and name, and then similarly list 2 contains two elements is and John, and the expected output is my name is John. So that means we need to combine these two lists and we need to print it as a string, right? So let's try out that in an editor. Let's declare the first string. List 1 is equal to my and name. Then declare the next list. List 2 is equal to is and John, right? So our first target is first motive is to combine these two lists, right? So how can we combine two lists in Python? So there are different ways to combine two lists in Python. So let's try out few methods. Very easiest method, I would say this list 3 we can combine by just using the plus operator, right? List 3 is equal to list 1 plus list 2, which will combine these two lists and all the elements will be present in the list 3. So let's print list 3. So we got all the elements from list 1 and list 2 in list 3. And we also have some other way to combine list 1 and list 2 using extend, right? Extend function. So if you are using list 1 dot extend of list 2, that means list 1 is actually getting altered and list 1 will have the content from list 2 also. Now let's try to print out list 1. So we got the same result, right? My name is John. So our next step is to convert this list into a string. So how can we convert? We can use join method, right? So print off quotes and then dot join off. You can give either list 1 or list 3. And let's try to print out the result. We got the string my name is John, but without having the space, right? So how can we add space? We just need to put a space inside these quotes. So now we got the expected result, my space name space is space John. Now let's try to print out the same with the list 3. We should get the same result, right? Yes, we got the same result. Okay. So let's go to our next question. Third question. Combine two lists and convert into a dictionary as shown below. So list 1 is equal to A, B, C. List 2 having numbers 1, 2 and 3. And now we need to convert into a dictionary such as the dictionary should contain the members from list 1 and list 2. A is to 1, B is to 2, is to 3, right? There are several ways to achieve this. You can use zip function in Python, or you can use double for loops, or you can use single line for loop, or I can say dictionary comprehension in Python. So it's based on the interviewer, so they might ask you to write in a specific way or specific method, so you may have to choose out of this. Okay, so let's discuss all these three methods here in detail. So first let me explain you what is zip function in Python. So what zip function will do, it will combine the members from two lists, or you can say members from two tuples at corresponding indexes, and it forms a key value pair. Okay, so let's understand that with a code. Let me define one list. List 1, L1 is equal to ABC, and L2 is equal to 1, 2, 3. And then we can use zip function x is equal to zip of L1 comma L2. So if you use zip, it actually returns a zip object. When we try to print out x, it is actually a zip object. It is not in the readable format. So now to convert into readable format, what you can do, you can convert into a list. So print off list of x. So what happened? It combined the members from these two lists, list 1 and list 2, at corresponding indices, right? So that is the use of zip function. Now coming to the answer of our question. So we have two lists, list 1 and list 2, and let's create a new dictionary. Dict 1 is equal to, and when I say dict of zip of list 1 comma list 2, so what is happening? So it will create a zip object. From that it will form a dictionary, and it will store into dict1 variable. Now let's try to print out dict1. So we got the required output, right? The dictionary contains A is to 1, B is to 2 and C is to 3. Now let's see the second method using single line for loop, or you can say using dictionary comprehension. So it all based on the interviewer. Okay, so let me declare a new dictionary. Dict2 is equal to, so we can use curly brackets, right, to form the dictionary. Now let us define the members of the dictionary. So what are the members of dictionary? Dictionary is something like it is a key value pair, right? So keys are the values from list 1 and values are the members from list 2, right? So we can take list 1 of I, then list 2 of I. So where I will start from index 0 to up to length of any of the list 1 or list 2. So we can give for I in range of length of list 1. So dict2 is equal to list 1 of I, list 2 of I for I in range of length of list 1. Now let's try to print out dict2. We should get the same result. A is to 1, B is to 2 and C is to 3, right? Now let us see third method, which uses double for loops. So let me declare an empty dictionary, dict3 an empty dictionary, okay? And then we can use one for loop for keys and one for loop for values. So the first for loop I can define for key in list 1 and then second for loop for value in list 2. Now we can keep adding members to the dictionary. So how can we add a member to dictionary? So in the format dict of key is equal to value format, right? So here we can see dictionary name is dict3. So dict3 of key is equal to value. So value is the member from list 2, key is the member from list 1. And once we added the value, so here initially the first in the first for loop the key is equal to A, and in the next for loop initially the value is 1, right? So the first member is added, A is to 1 is added into dict 3. Now we don't need 1 anymore, right? So once 1 is added to A along with A, now 1 is not needed anymore. So what we can do, we can remove 1 from that list. So what we can do, list 2 dot remove of value. And also now we don't have to traverse to the second loop because we already added the member from list 2. Now we don't have to traverse to that. So we can break from the second for loop so that we can go to the next member in the first for loop. Now what will be the content of list 1 and list 2? List 1 will have the same members, which is A, B, C. List 2 will have only 2 and 3, right? So now we have to go to the next member in list 1, that is B. So the second time the for loop is entered, but this time into the second for loop when we entered, what happened? It took the first member again in list 2, but this time the first member is 2, right? So B is to 2 is added into list 2, and now what we did, 2 is removed from list 2 and we got a break. So this process repeats until the length of any of the list. Now let us print out dict 3. So we will be getting the same result. So you can use any of these method in the interview, but it all based on the interviewer. If they ask you to write using zip function, you can use the first method. If they asked you to write a comprehension method, then you can go with the second method, or else you can go the normal method using double for loops. Okay, let's go to our next question. Fourth question, write a Python program to count the number of times a class is called, or you can say how to count the number of instance of a class in Python. So we have to write a Python program to find the instance of a class in Python, or we can say the number of times a class is called. So first let me tell you the logic. So how can you get the number of times a class is called? So whenever a class member or whenever we create an object of a class, its corresponding constructor also will get called, right? So we can write any method. So like if we write anything inside the constructor, that will be executed when we create the object of that class. So we can use that logic by making use of a constructor. So let us define a class A. And let me just give count is equal to 0, so that count can give us the required output. And now let me define the constructor. So what is constructor in Python? We can define init method. So in init method, I will make an increment to the variable count, an increment of 1. So whenever the constructor is called, the count also will get incremented by 1. So how can we call the count variable here? So count here, it is a class variable. How can we call a class variable? Using the class name. So a dot count plus is equal to 1. That means it will be incremented by a value 1. Let me also add a print statement, print of class A is called. Now let us create the object of the class. A1 is equal to A. And now we can print the value of count, print of A dot count. So our output is class A is called and the count is 1. We can add one more line to create one more instance of A. A2 is equal to A. Then this time class A is called twice and we got count value as 2. When we make one more, and then we will get count value as 3, right? So this is one method. Again we have another method to write this program by using global variable. Let's see that method also. Let me define a new class, class B. And let's create the constructor. So the logic is same, okay, it is making use of constructor. And now let me declare a global variable with count is equal to 0. And then I want to increment that count. So for that I need to declare the global variable first inside the constructor using global keyword. Then in the next line I will increment the count by 1. Count plus is equal to 1. And let me add one print statement over here also. Print of class B is called. Now let's create the object of the class and let's try to print out the value of count. So since count is a global variable, we can directly call the variable count. Let me run the file. Okay, we have some invalid syntax at line number 16. Okay, let's rerun it. Okay, so okay, we are printing class A. Let me change it to class B. So we got class A is called thrice and count is 3, and class B is called twice and the count is 2. So we can use any of this method using class variable, or you can use global variable. Okay. So the logic is same. You need to make use of a constructor in order to find the number of times the object of the class is called. Let's move to our next question. Fifth question. Write a Python program to find duplicate characters in the below list. So this is a list. India is my country are the members of the list. We need to print the duplicate characters in the list. Okay. And the expected output is I, N and Y, and that also needs to be printed in a list format. Let's define the list. So whenever you are asked this type of question, there should be many ways to write any program in Python or any programming language, right? So you can use any of the method which is convenient for you. So here what I am doing, like converting this list into a string, so that it is easy to find the characters, duplicate characters from a string, right? So let's convert into a string. So we can use join method to combine all these members from the list and to convert into a string. So when we print of str, we should get the result as India is my country. Now what we need to do, we need to find the duplicates. So for that, let me declare a duplicates list, an empty list, and let me traverse to this string through each character. For car in str, we can get the count of a character, the occurrence of a character in a string by using count method, right? So we have an inbuilt function in Python by using count, so that we can make use of here. So if str dot count of character, it will give you the occurrence or the number of times the character is present in that particular string. So if str dot count of character is greater than 1, that means it is a duplicate character. And we also what we can do, we can add that character into the duplicates array. But before that, before adding, we need to give one more check to ensure that the character is not already present in the duplicates, because it is a for loop which will be keep traversing through the string. So we should not add any duplicate element into the list again, right? So we can do one more check, and car not in duplicates, and then we can give duplicates dot append of car. Now let us print the duplicates list. So we got the required output I, N and Y. And I'll show you one more thing. If you use print star of duplicates, then instead of list, it will print you the characters as a string, right? I, N and Y. Let's go to our next question. Write a program to print unique characters in a string. So the previous question was dealing with the duplicate characters, right? But here we need to print unique characters, and the string has given us test, and we need to print the unique characters which are E and S. So let's start writing the code. For that, let's declare a string str is equal to test, and then we can just declare an empty list. We can name it as unique. Then we can traverse to the string for car in str. So here we are making use of the same logic which we used in the previous question. We are using str.count of character. So str.count will give you the number of times the substring is present in that particular string. So here we need to find whether the count is equal to 1, right, instead of greater than 1. So if it is equal to 1, that means it is a unique character. And then we can give our next check, and car not present in the unique list. Then we can add unique dot append of character. Finally, we can print out the unique list. Okay, there is some indentation issue. Okay, we got E and S as the output, which is the expected result. Let me change it to some other string. Let me change it to India. So this time we should get N, D and A since I is a duplicate value. And if I remove I, then we should get all the letters, right, in that string N, D and I and A. Coming to next question. So we are provided a program. We need to print the output of the below program. So as you can see, there are 4 classes: class A, class B, class C and class D. Here class A, B and C is having same method, which is demo, and class B is extending class A and class C is also extending class A, and the fourth class D, which is extending both class B and C. Now we are creating the object of the class D, then using the reference variable test, we are calling that method demo. So which method it will get called, right? So that is our question. So, or it will it call all the methods. So we have print statement in class A, in class B and in class C. So which print statement will be called, or will there be more than one print statement? So let's see that with the code. So we have class A and class B is extending class A, C is extending A, D is extending B and C, creating the object and then calling the method. Let's click on the run button. Okay, there is some invalid syntax. So we got the output as in class B. So it actually called the method demo method from class B. So what could be the reason? There is a concept called MRO, which is method resolution order in Python. So here we are calling this B and C in the order of B comma C, right? So in class D, as an argument, we are passing B and C in the order of, so first we have written B, then we have written C, right? So what it will do, it will call the method from class B. So in the output, we got the print statement from class B, in class B. Now let's say let's change it to C comma B. Then what would be the output? We will get in class C, right? So it is the order of passing the arguments. But if you are changing the method order, if you are changing the class order, that won't affect the final result. So I have written class C first, but it won't affect the final result. Okay, so it's just that when you are inheriting 2 classes, the first inherited class will be called. Let's move to our next question. Write a one-line for loop to print all the words in the below list which starts with the character I, and list contains the words India is my country. So we should get the output as India and East, right? These are the 2 words which starts with the character I. Let's start writing our code. List is equal to, let me define the numbers. Now we need to write a single line for loop, right? We need to make use of list comprehension. So I have already made a video like how we can write a single line for loop, or how we can achieve list comprehension in Python, right? So if you want, you can refer that video. So let me explain that here. Let me declare a new list. List2 is equal to word, where word is in list, and then we can put the if condition. So what is our condition here? If word dot starts with, so there is a function called starts with, we can make use of that here. If word dot starts with of the character I, so it will return all the words which starts with the character I, and it will store in the list2, and let's print out the value of list2. We will get India and is. There are 2 words which starts with that character, right? What if we write using normal for loop? So if you are using normal for loops, there should be some 4 to 5 lines need to write in order to achieve this, right? So all these lines of code we can reduce into 1. So that's it, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this video. These questions must be helpful for you if you are attending any Python based interview. So we will see you with some other interesting content in our next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.